I am Ben from Intermediate Guitar. And today's video is a continuation of our last three, picking up where we left off on positions of the pentatonic minor scale. First thing I want to touch on is we have been doing these videos in A minor. Since we're moving into position 4 today, I'm going to have to change the key to E minor so we've actually got room, because once I get to position 4 of A minor, I start running out of frets on an acoustic. And I really like doing the acoustic with you guys. It's really nice for keeping unadulterated sounds. I don't have any extra frills, bells, and whistles to hide behind. You can just hear the natural note. Since we're changing over to E minor, I figured we would do a little recap of positions 1 through 3. Then we'll move into 4, do a little talking about 4, and call this lesson a wrap. So, E minor, position 1, the position we all know and love. You can usually find it right? But we'll use the open position for this. It's exactly the same, but instead of using the 12th fret here, we're going to use open strings. So that'd be open, low E string to the 3rd fret, open A to the 2nd, open D to the 2nd fret, open G to the 2nd fret, open B to the 3rd fret, open E to the 3rd fret, and going right back down the way we came. Okay, position 1, that's the one that we all know and love and use tremendously. Position 2, sliding up, remembering position 2, we maintain the same root note here. So open to the 3rd, to the 5th fret on that low E string, and then we have the 2nd fret to the 5th fret, 2nd fret to the 5th fret, 2nd fret to the 4th fret, 3rd fret to the 5th fret, 3rd fret to the 5th fret, and back down the way you came. Okay, moving into position 3, still utilizing that same root note down there. Open, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. Okay, from 7, then it's 5th fret to the 7th fret, right? 5th fret to the 7th fret, 4th fret to the 7th fret, 5th fret to the 8th fret, 5th fret to the 7th fret. So, positions 1, 2, 3. We are on to position 4 now today. And position 4, to introduce it, is arguably one of the more important positions to learn, mainly because it's the next position where a root note is on one of our bass strings. And I always think of my bass strings as my low E and A. It gives me the most. It's kind of where our chords are based from. So, you know, when you have an F, my root note's on the low E string here. If I were to go to, say, like a B minor, now my root note's on my A string. So it's just kind of that sort of thinking process. Putting my root note on either this string or this string is how I think of my scale shapes. Position 4, like I said, this is one of the first ones where we have a new root note, and it is indeed on the 7th fret of the A string. Okay, let's run through this position together, and then we'll chat some more about it, because I'm sure I've got plenty to say on everything. So we'll go ahead and start on this root note, and that'll be on the 7th fret of your A string. We'll run through the scale shape, and then I'll show you how we would connect it and why we choose that spot as well. 7th fret on your A string, that's our first root note. We go to the 10th fret on the A string, okay? Then we move up. That's going to be the 7th fret on the D string, the 9th fret on the D string. Next string, that's the 7th fret on the G string, and the 9th fret on the G string. Moving to the B string, it's the 8th fret to the 10th fret, and the 7th fret to the 10th fret. And if you'd like to complete the root note to root note idea, we would take that 10th fret up to the 12th. And back down the way we came, 12 to the 10th, to the 7th. Moving down to the B string, 10th fret, to the 8th fret. Moving down, G string, 9th fret, to the 7th fret. D string, 9th fret, to the 7th fret. And finally back down to the A string, 10th fret, to the 7th fret. One other thing to touch on, what are our scale degrees here? We have our root notes, our minor third right there, the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, root note, minor third, 4th, 5th, 7th, and back to our root there at the top if we want to grab that one. Okay, that is the majority of position 4, okay? The other thing we have to take into account is we still have that low E string that we haven't done anything with. So in theory, we could, from that 7th fret on the A string, that being my root note, I could go from there to the 10th fret on the low E string, 7th fret on the low E string, 5th fret, 3rd fret, open. And it's basically that continuation of what we were doing to get into position 2 and position 3. And you could, from that 10th fret there, a whole step, and get the entire pentatonic scale on just one string. Really handy thing to know how to do. Okay, some things to talk about. So first and foremost, this position and why it's so important is because not only is it a super common place for people to play pentatonic leads in their key, a lot of people will use position 1 and position 4. Anytime you learn a solo, I guarantee you're going to see this position. And the reason why it's so common, position 1 is just really nice because of how easy the shape is. Position 4 is really cool is because all of the notes in it, specifically a lot of these notes on this outside wall of it, this are the majority of the notes, minus this minor third here, if we were to take that and drop it down to the root, you have the outline of the minor chord that your key is in, that's E minor. So that's one reason why this is a really popular one. If you kind of throw the idea of pure pentatonic out the window, you can almost do kind of that double stopping. While leaving the back wall in it, which is really nice. The other thing that's really nice about where this kind of sits is it kind of, it's a really good spot to attempt like some diatonic diads. Diatonic meaning chords within the key, diads meaning 2 notes. So you could do little things like, obviously you can do this anywhere, but it fits really nicely in this spot. Up here at the very top, if I were to take just kind of the back wall here, if I drop this entirely, this back wall here turns into kind of that D chord. And so I could take those top 2 notes, that's going to be the 7th fret on your G string and your B string, and do from there That's going to be the 9th and the 8th fret. 9th on the G, 8th on the B. Slide that same position up a whole step. And go back to the bar on the 12th. Right? Sort of that diatonic kind of vibe to it. Also with this particular shape, you also have access to that minor triad, which if you remember our triad episode, that's where that is coming from. That's from that A minor shape. Looks like A minor, because my root note's on the A string. Right? A minor chord is where this one's being derived from. And you have access to that nice minor triad right in that spot. We have position 4 now. If you already know this one, awesome. Make sure you learn 2 and 3, because those are going to be the way to get into this one. Right? Just ways to connect your positions. I remember when I first started kind of getting into scale work, and I learned position 1 just like we all do. Funny enough, I learned position 4 next, but I had all of this space in between those two that I did not know what to do with. But I will say, out of position 1 and position 4, I feel like I got a heck of a lot of mileage out of them. Just those 2 shapes. And it's because those root notes are just so easily accessible inside of there. So when you're practicing this, especially whenever you're very first practicing this, remember, just going straight up and down is totally okay. It's not the greatest, but when you're just getting it ingrained, just kind of figuring out these shapes and trying to get them memorized, that's totally okay. Things I would even recommend doing now that you've actually got access to a few more shapes here is you could start with, like, say, 4. And once you're at 4, slide down, skip the 3rd position, go down to the 2nd position. And then go up to the 3rd. And come down to position 1. And kind of mix them and match them, because what you're essentially trying to do is you're trying to get those walls of each box pattern really ingrained in you. And, position 2 shares that wall with position 1. Position 2 shares that wall with position 3. So really it's, we think about box patterns, it's almost like, for me, thinking about, lines, and what each one of those lines kind of looks like. That might help you, it might not. But just kind of a different way of thinking. Like, maybe don't think of it as a box pattern, maybe think of them just as the walls in the house, and you're making your own rooms. Remember, whenever you're practicing, keep things musical. Moving in thirds is always nice. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Moving in thirds, that's the like broken thirds, which, it's not really great for the pentatonic, just because we don't really have too much. It's all kind of broken thirds. So moving in fourths, which would be we want to keep things musical as we can get. Excuse me, the fires are still taking their toll on me. I'm hoping this rain. I'm looking forward to it. If you guys have any questions or comments, definitely leave them down below. I'll leave a link to our newsletter if you enjoy content like this down there as well. I'll see you next week with another chord progression of the day. Our next week's video for this will be finalizing and grabbing position 5 for this. So hopefully at the end of the next video, you'll have every single pentatonic shape on the fretboard. With that, you can practice up as you will and add all of that to your playing. So hopefully no more guesswork. Then it kind of just becomes about how do we tie that all together? What are some use cases? I look forward to talking with you soon. I've been with Intermediate Guitar. It's been a pleasure. Toodles, y'all.